Well, clearly we are in the worst timeline, because late in 2024, a user that goes by the name NERF stumbled upon an alleged pitch deck from over 10 years ago outlining the concept of what BOOMco Pro would have been, and then posted the pictures of this pitch deck to the NERF wiki page. Now, before we get too far into the weeds, I should point out that all of this could be fake. This could all be just a giant fanfiction roleplay. But somebody clearly put a lot of effort into it and attached a name to it, and it's a fun idea to point out that BOOMco was way too far ahead of its time. Links to all this will be down in the video description if you want to check it out for yourself. And maybe give us a subscribe while you're down there. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is a BOOMco dart, and this standard has been long and gone for several years now. It started off as a competitor to NERF. It's not a NERF dart, it's not compatible with NERF darts, it is smaller, and it's made out of a completely different type of material. NERF darts are foam. They've always been foam, but the foam is there to seal the dart into the barrel and build up air pressure, or grip a flywheel, which you then use to fling the dart. BOOMco had a similar idea, but with a waxy, rubbery, straw plastic material. And the main takeaway from that, even though they really wanted you to care about this smart stick technology that really was cool but never worked after you shot the dart a couple of times, and years later, unless you have brand new ones, won't work at all, was that these darts were far more stable in flight, leading to them being far more accurate, and they were way more durable. You take a NERF dart, give it a little squeeze, and you never want to use it ever again. Meanwhile, this little guy could go through the entire digestive tract of a Rottweiler and you'd still be able to use it perfectly. The blasters were also interesting too, although they really did suffer from BOOMco trying to aim for different age ratings at one point, going for 8 and up and then 6 and up and then back to 8 and up when it was far too late, and reshelling the same blaster so many times. In fact, a blaster that was never released in the US and was one of the last BOOMco blasters to be released, but otherwise most of you know them out there for the fact that they made Halo blasters far before NERF did. They made a pistol called the Far Shot, about as simple as a front-loading pistol can get, and then they just happened to put the same internals of that into everything. This is the BOOMco Double Rush, and it's basically a pump-action Far Shot, but its rotating cylinder, which holds 6 darts, fires 2 darts at once. And that is the first time this blaster has been shot in a very, very long time. It's a really simple blaster concept that would do amazing as an N-series concept, but we know how that's gonna go. So a lot of the BOOMco blasters use the same internals, so they were actually, as long as you could get into them, pretty fairly simple to mod. But there were also a couple of air blasters and a couple of flywheel blasters. And overall, I was a huge fan because the darts were durable and they were extremely accurate. In fact, I kind of wonder how good BOOMco would do in terms of accuracy compared to modern blasters. But in the first slide for BOOMco Pro, which is dated March 5th, 2015, back when BOOMco was at the top of their game, we can see that the BOOMco Pro concept was geared towards ages 14 and up, much like NERF Rival. The design language on the logo is excellent. That kind of warning symbol goes really hard, and the black and yellow just stands out so well. The design style is listed as Exo Armor / Tank, Recognizable / Concept, Bold and Mature, and shows what appears to be a paintballer in a BOOMco Pro jersey holding one of the concept blasters. The deco is a two-tone mature, black and yellow for caution, and had camo, stripes, and pro competition listed. But one of the more interesting things here is the idea of a new BOOMco dart, which, if we scroll to the next slide on one of the first blasters and least expensive one priced on this concept, is basically the same dart but with a different shaped head. Which is interesting to me because I said one of the things going against BOOMco was the flat heads caused a little bit more air resistance, but then I was told that that didn't matter by people who I guess were smarter than me, but here we are with the same idea of a more pointed tip on a BOOMco dart. The other thing holding BOOMco back was the fact that its darts didn't really work well in sealed barrels, and BOOMco didn't use magazines. Ever. It always used harmonica-style clips, up to 40 rounds, which were fine. They were double stacked and held a lot of ammo compared to NERF. However, yeah, magazines, sealed breeches, that goes a lot better. But the first thing we're looking at in the BOOMco Pro line is the Pro Lever Action Revolver. No stock, no long barrel, basically just a strong arm with a lever on it. First thing that stands out is that this is a $20 blaster, which would be a lot for an 8-shot revolver, but hopefully higher quality internals and, more importantly, more performance. The blaster itself has a top rail, which probably would have been the standard BOOMco rail, which didn't really have accessories for it other than shields. The back end of it has what appears to be a sling loop, with the main grip having what appears to be some kind of carbon fiber decal on it. The muzzle is super short, but there is kind of an angled foregrip up near the muzzle too, probably to grip it while you rip that lever action. But then it includes an 8-shot flip-out cylinder for you to load in your BOOMco darts. So imagine something like this, but you just rock it with the lever, and that would be amazing. I don't think we have a blaster that's like that yet. They're all typically rifle stylings. So for $20, that seems a bit steep, but at the same time, if the performance was there and the blasters were pretty high quality, even like just a little bit better than standard BOOMco, it would have been well worth it, and seriously, would have changed our hobby forever. I just want to point out, this is around the same time that NERF was launching Modulus, and there were people that apparently wanted BOOMco to have higher performance than anything else out there. But things get a little bit more interesting when we look at the ProMoto 100 model. There isn't a lot of information here. It looks like some kind of futuristic P90, and the P90 already looks futuristic. But we can see some text that says Pro Power Motors with an arrow pointing towards near the front of the blaster, which tells me it was probably a flywheeler like the Spinsanity 3X. It also claimed to have a 16-dart side-loaded stacked magazine, which BOOMco didn't do because the darts pretty much couldn't do it. That being said, if the dart heads were of a different material that wasn't that rubbery squishy stuff that BOOMco used, it very well could have worked. It's got a carry handle with a rail on top of it that looks to be Picatinny, and the rest of it is your standard P90 affair. Do note that there's extra dart storage in the back. Not sure how good that would have been if it used magazines, unless it was magazine storage in the rear. And honestly, this is the one that probably looks like it has the least amount of effort put into it. At $30, I mean, that's a lot for just Pro Power Motors. It doesn't say how many batteries it would take or even where the batteries would go. And that price point seems incredibly optimistic to me. But the next one on the list is probably my favorite of all, by far, because it looks the coolest, it fits the theme perfectly, and this is a blaster I absolutely would have purchased, probably multiples of them. The Air Rapid, or AR Pro. One of the first blasters released in the BOOMco line was the Rapid Madness. It uses a double-stroke pump and a massive air bladder and fired darts out of those harmonica-style clips exceptionally fast. The performance wasn't always that good, but the rate of fire and capacity was excellent and no batteries needed. The Air Rapid Pro also seems to fit that description, using the same harmonica-style clips with this more industrial/construction aesthetic. The pump was located at the rear of the blaster, which looks like it could have been utilized as a stock, but then you can grab it and pump it up and actually inflate the air tank, which was located right behind the magazine but in front of the grip at an angle, which just looks awesome. There was another BOOMco style rail that ran along pretty much the entire top of this blaster, but there was also an included front sight and an integrated angled grip on the blaster itself. The same stylings with the grip having like carbon fiber wrap on it, that all carried over as well. And it is by far, in my opinion, the most fleshed out of these designs. This is a blaster I could see on store shelves. It looks fantastic. Everything about this I love, and I'm very sad we never got our hands on it. I would have taken this as standard BOOMco, like just this design. It's that good. But seriously, we need more of that like pump in the stock idea that the NERF Titan used. But I mean, you're gonna need to have a stock on there anyway, so you might as well use it for something. Maybe even have like a customizable stop on it so you can get less pump draw, but you can have more stock. You know, just an idea for the future out there. And with all these slides so far, we've seen catchphrases like blast better, blast more, blast faster, and for the final hypothetical product on this list, we've got the blast farther. This is the first blaster on the list that has any kind of range claims, and that also tells me that this concept was trying to balance out the blasters with each other. It's a completely forgotten thing because Hasbro doesn't do it at all, although they tried to do it with Gelfire and then messed that up. But the idea is, if you have every single blaster hit the same performance mark, well then every single blaster is pretty much the same, which I guess would inherently make it balanced until you get like full auto and stuff into the mix. And then things aren't balanced, both by the fact that if you spend more money, you get full auto, but if you don't spend a lot of money, you get something that hits just as hard. You can weigh the pros and cons of that however you like, but I would appreciate every blaster having its own niche. That way anybody can buy a product from a line, take it to a game, and as long as they effectively use that blaster in its niche, they're all good. And with the D&G 89 Eagle Eye Blaster, a $50 proposed price, we got 140-foot range claims. This is a massive magazine-fed bolt-action BOOMco blaster that included a bipod and a red dot LED scope. The bolt action appears to be the same thing as what we got in like the long strike and whatnot. It's just a flat bolt that goes through the thing that you prime back and forward. It's not like an actual angled bolt that we occasionally get from NERF, but this looks like something straight out of Titanfall. It looks fantastic. And 140-foot ranges? Yeah, that would have shaken pretty much everything up and given modded blasters a run for their money back then. And it is nice to see that they tried to tackle a blaster at every single price point, even if some of those price points seem a bit optimistic in my opinion. Now, as we know, BOOMco did the Halo thing, and then the last we saw about it was there were just some Batman figures that shot BOOMco darts, and that was it. BOOMco just quietly disappeared into the night. And if you have BOOMco blasters, you better jump on that sealed ammo because it's getting rarer and rarer every day. But every blaster in this concept line seems super solid, and you can see where the natural evolution of this would go. It's fun to think about that 8 or 9 years ago, we could have had pro-level performance on store shelves. NERF attempted it with Rival, and it was pretty much everybody's favorite thing, and even now that seems to be gone for no reason. And the biggest flaw with how NERF Rival was handled was, well, they really didn't give us the blasters that we wanted. Think about how long it took to get a standard pump-action magazine-fed NERF Rival blaster or a Strife configuration of a NERF Rival blaster, which should have been the first things released, and yet we got the Apollo and the Zeus. Not bad blasters, mind you, but they give us those blasters first, so later on they could release these other pretty much identical blasters with a feature that we needed, so you have to buy another new blaster. When in reality, they should just give us the core blasters we need, and then diverge them slightly in re-releases that have different features on them. Pump action shotgun, break action shotgun, double barrel break action shotgun, double barrel pump action shotgun, full auto shotgun, shotgun? No, more shotgun, pistol shotgun, lever action shotgun, mag fed shotgun, tube fed shotgun, big shotgun. It's really not a hard concept. I don't know why Hasbro is screwing this up. But by the looks of it, this line never came to be. Whether this pitch deck never made it to the people who needed to see it, or they saw it and they weren't impressed because they already planned on getting rid of the line. It's hard to say. What is sad is that BOOMco had stuff going on. It started off okay, it floundered there for a bit, but when BOOMco came back with things like the Burst Wave and the Colossal Blitz and the Halo blasters, it looked so golden, and then they did nothing with it. Too many reshells relying too heavily on inflated prices because of third-party intellectual Ooh, that's not good.